and welcome. Would you like to take a trip to me? A trip to a magical place called Pixie Hollow? Well, that's what we're gonna do today.
Have you ever wondered how nature gets its glow?
If you're not familiar, the Disney Fairies franchise is quite expansive and has been around since the mid-2000s. It's a much bigger rabbit hole of a discussion, so it's best to focus solely on this game for now. But I will say, sadly, it's not as active now, unfortunately, since the last movie was made in 2015. It is still a part of the Disney collections, though, so there's always hope for new material again. As soon as you start the game, you get this nice little intro explaining the world of the fairies. An intro that I soon realized was pulled from the first Tinkerbell movie back in 2008 to use as part of the game. It's cute, and it gives you a nice glance at the world you'll soon be playing through. Early college, I did end up really enjoying the Disney Fairy movies. If you haven't seen the movies, they are amazing and something I'll definitely talk about in the future more, but it is something that I did find myself really enjoying, especially within 2013, because if anyone knows me, I love Tom Hiddleston. I've talked about it so many times, and he was a part of the Disney Fairies universe and the Pirate Fairy.
And as long as we have the blue dust, we'll never run out of flying dust. Right again?
Right again, James.
Well then, we won't need you anymore.
We'll touch more about that in a separate video, but I can tell you that the Pirate Fairy was definitely a favorite movie of mine for a while to enjoy, to the point where I even cosplayed as Zarina. This is so cute.
Well done. I love it.
Thank you. In 2010, they came out with this video game, Disney Fairies Tinkerbell Adventure. I've never played it. I really don't know anything about it. So this is the first time that I'm delving into it. But I'm really excited. I think it'll be really cute because the one thing I can say is the Disney Fairies, the franchise, really took its time and they really did an amazing job catering and putting a lot of heart and soul into their entities. It's weird because I still consider this a modern game even though it came out 14 years ago. But of course, this is still very modern to me, so we have it on our modern system, so got the headphones to go on to play. Our opening screen, Disney Fairies Tinkerbell Adventure, and we have, oh my god, the butterfly! You know how you get really girly with the princess games? I feel like the Disney Fairies franchise is something that people don't talk about enough, that the Disney Fairies are even girlier than the Disney princesses. It's a different type of girl, but I feel like I definitely relate more to the fairies because it's more of that earthy, witchy vibe in a way. It's all about the earth. It's very hippie-esque and I'm here for it. As I got distracted by the butterfly. So we have our story mode. We have this printing images category. Free play. Extras and options. So of course these two aren't really relevant, but the printing images is really interesting because I feel like for the most part people didn't print as often at this time compared to, you know, 10 years before in the 2000s. Printing was everywhere. There were so many printing softwares. We'll touch about this in the future as well because there were so many games specifically to Disney that were just Disney printing studio games. But it's so interesting that they have this, but as you can see, we have to play the story mode to unlock any of these pages. I'll be excited when we do because honestly, we love coloring. Coloring is a good time. And then the fairy cards, which again, this one also you have to play free mode to unlock this. So there's already a lot to dive into. Okay. What is the free play first? I want to see the free play because I feel like the story mode is going to be more intensive. Oh, you can't play the pre-play until you play the story. Okay, so at least we know where we're starting off. Oh no, I must have overslept. That's not even her voice. I should hurry to the workshop and see if there's anything that needs fixing. I gave her like a Wendy voice. When she's not even British, and it's not even British, but that's just like my go-to voice I always do. Okay, so unfortunately right off the bat, these graphics and the motion of where to go is very failing. It's not off to a good start. And I'm very saddened by that because I really am looking forward to a Fairies game being really good. Because the movies are amazing.
Once you get through the tutorial, it's time to start the various tasks that process the story along. As you can tell, all the characters just have their text on the screen. None of their voice actors, or even separate voice actors specifically hired for the game, are featured. I know it's not common for games to always have voice acting alongside the text, but it's still important to point out, especially since it just meant that I was doing my own terrible voice acting alongside the game while I played.
Oh my god, yay, it's Rosetta! We get to play as Rosetta. Oh wait, I have to do a country accent for her. I apologize if it's really bad. Alright, I want to read her stuff because I love Rosetta because she's Christian Chenoweth. And yes, I know Megan Hilty played her too, but listen to Christian Chenoweth. Love Christian Chenoweth. Oh boy, a pixie holiday party tonight. Wait, what am I gonna wear? I love to get some fancy jewels in my hair while I'm twirling around on the dance floor. Let's find Tinkerbell. She'll be able to help.
And that was only half the time. The other half I just gave up and sped through the text to get to the next task. This game is literally a girl's version of my first RPG. In fact, I caught myself saying that multiple times throughout the gameplay.
Cute, we have an inventory in this game. It's like a whole, like, this is like a my first RPG for kids.
There's 15 main chapters within the story mode that feature a little bit of grinding tasks to get throughout the story.
This is cute because it literally is setting up grinding for future RPGs. Because all these tasks I'm doing, it just reminds me of all the tasks that I had to do in Final Fantasy.
Some of the chapters are easier and quicker to get through than others, since it's rated E for everyone, but mainly aimed at young girls for the demographic that's going to play this game. Most of the time, what you need to do is literally point it out for you. All you have to do is follow the arrows where to go. The most challenging part of the game is when you have to collect specific ingredients, and it's all scattered in different areas where you just constantly have to grind between the different areas. So remember when I use the word challenging, it's not truly challenging, it's just very, very tedious. And as you can see, I was completely over it during parts of this game.
If the game continues to be like this, I've unfortunately hyped it up way too much. This is why we start off with low expectations, everyone.
Also, this is the perfect time to point out that there are so many loading screens to get anywhere within the game. You get to play as 5 of the fairies, Tinkerbell obviously since her name is a part of the game, Iridessa, Rosetta, who's one of my favorites, Silvermist, and Fawn, another one of my favorites. Normally you play as one fairy to complete each of the parts of the game, but there's several times that you get to rotate throughout several fairies to get a task done. Each fairy has their own special skills and they come in handy, especially during the mini-games that happen between all of the main tasks. Tinkerbell's mini-games are repairing broken items, and the second one is creating hair clip accessories for the other fairies. Iridessa has one called Light the Fireflies, and the main objective is to match the color lights to its respective fireflies, and the other one is called Collect Jewels, where you navigate throughout the caves and pick up jewels. Very self-explanatory. Rosetta has one called Planting, where you have to drag the matching colored bulbs to the respective spots, and the other game, similar to Iridessa, is Collecting Fruits. Literally the same concept of Iridessa's, but you have to avoid the thorns and bug swarms on top of picking up fruit. Silvermist's game is called Collect Dewdrops, where you collect the colored dewdrops that match the color on the leaves. Fawn's game is called Assign Honeycombs, and it's a little puzzle game where you have to fit the honeycomb pieces into the main honeycomb together. As for the main story mode, part 1 is focused on the Minister of Spring asking Tinkerbell to fix a teapot.
Repair it, because Tinkerbell is a Tinker Fairy, so she repairs things. She's very handy. Okay, so we got our task. Okay, so we went back to talk to Mary Fairy to basically confirm that we have a job to fix the broken teapot.
Part 2 brings Iridessa into being used as the main fairy. The Minister of Summer asks her to help the Fireflies get their lights back, and Iridessa asks Tinkerbell to help fix her broken light container. Part 3 brings Rosetta into use as the main fairy. The Minister of Autumn asks her to collect some seeds to help plant flowers. This also really starts to expand the switch between grinding for items and minigames to collect items needed that you can't get while grinding.
Do you think you'd be able to make one for me? Of course, it'd be my pleasure, Roo. The only problem is I don't have enough materials right now. All I have left is one poinsettia, one red rose, and one ruby. I still need one more ruby. I wonder if Iridessa has any. Maybe I should pay her a little old visit.
Part 4 brings in Silver Mist and Fawn as the 2 fairies you get to play as. Silver Mist needs help from Fawn to talk to a frog who's preventing her from getting a bag of pixie dust. Fawn finds out that the frog's leg is hurt and can't move.
Well, it looks like someone woke up on the wrong side of the lily pad. Do you mind if I grab my pixie dust bag? Excuse me? Oh dear, he's pretty scary for a little frog. I wonder what he's so angry about. Too bad I can't talk to animals like Fawn. Well, I can't go anywhere without my pixie dust. What am I gonna do? So now we get to play as Fawn. I love Fawn. She's like another one of my favorites, and I actually always wanted to cosplay as Fawn. Nothing like a brisk walk to start the morning.
After healing the frog, the Minister of Winter has separate tasks for both Silver Mist and Fawn to complete.
Ribbit.
That's the gist of the whole game. The cycle repeats as you continue further, getting to play as each of the fairies multiple times as they complete similar different tasks as the ones just mentioned. At the end of each chapter, there's a poem that wraps up each season.
What's this poem? The fairies' work is finally done, spring is in the air, flowers bloom and animals wake from their winter's lair. Once again the fairies have come through to save the day, summer is here, the sun shines bright and the children can run and play. Ooh, this must mean that fall's next, aka my favorite time and the best time of year! Pumpkins! Harvest time! We got another poem. Thanks to Tink and all her friends, autumn has come at last. Leaves are fallen and pumpkins bloom, just like in days long past. Oh, we got another poem. Winter has come to the mainland. The fields are covered in snow. Icicles hang from every tree, touched by the fairies' glow.
Overall, this game really does give a good look into the world of Pixie Hollow. There's a lot of areas to explore and switch back and forth from. All of the sections are split into the 4 seasons. The easiest way to access all the areas are within Pixie Hollow Vista. You could consider that the main map for all the lands. There's also so many secondary characters to interact with.
Okay, I'm sorry. Why did they make the cooking fairy look like that? That's honestly really offensive. No, they did him so wrong. That is so sad.
So many characters, I didn't remember them at all.
Fairy Mary, I've never heard of this character. I understand that I've not seen all the movies in a long time. I don't think I've seen all the movies in general, but I don't know who this Fairy Mary is. That's a Minister of Spring. He looks very strange. Who are these fairies? I've never seen them before. I need to rewatch all these movies. I'm so lost. I'm not lost. I'm just don't know who all these characters are. Who are these people? I have never seen any of these people before. I know the fairies, not these ministers.
Oh, and also Francis.
Is that Francis from Bug's Life? Looks like Francis.
So, being a ladybug automatically makes me a girl. Is that it, Flyboy?
I ended up playing this game for a few hours and I was still learning so many things super late into the game.
So I made a discovery this late in the game. I didn't realize that I've been trying to collect and grind for these ingredients for cake, and yet I knew I had more ingredients and I knew I had honey. Didn't realize it until I went to go play the honeycomb game to get more honey, that you can only play it with Fawn. So I did. So I switched over to Fawn. And then I looked at the inventory again. Each fairy's inventory is different and they only have certain ingredients. I've had honey all along, but I only have 1 red seed because I didn't know that when you're playing at each fairy, it's their specific inventory. It's not your inventory from the whole game. The more you know. Our story has finally come to a close, but there are many adventures yet to come. You can now travel freely through Pixie Hollow as any fairy you choose, discover secrets and treasures by helping your fairy friends. There's a whole world of magic awaiting you. Let's see our images. Let's see what the coloring pages are, because I believe that we have, did we get them all? We did not get them all, and that is probably why we have to go through, and they have a replayability here, which is interesting. But you can color these characters. I do have a printer, but mine isn't hooked up right now, but I think it's really cute that they have all these coloring pages. This one is a really nice one to color. You can see all of the background imagery. I mean, a lot of them are nice, so I take that back. A lot of the Rosetta's really cute too. Iridesca's is not as many. Rosetta and Silver Mist have the most background to color. Fawn is cute, but same thing. Fawn and Iridesca are kind of more simplistic, and then Rosetta and Silver Mist definitely have a lot more features. And ooh, hers is pretty too. And then we have fairy cards that we can now look at. I don't know these fairies. That's Dove. That's not a fairy. That is a weird frog. Are these like trading cards? Imagine if they came out with a fairies trading card game. I do not play trading cards, but I think it gives me that example. Alright, so we still have a lot of the fairy cards to collect. So I do see here, well, these all free play mode. So the fairy cards, you need to just collect mysterious items. So it's a mixture of free play mode and a couple of mysterious items. Like we collected like the keys, the mirrors, the harmonicas maybe. Interesting. It was a very thorough game, and it definitely is great for kids to enjoy and for kids to play in several different times that they can keep going back to little by little in the story. So if they play for like a half hour, it would really stretch out their gameplay. It's a cute game. The graphics are pretty simple. They're not super exciting. You could tell that the graphics were very minimal with their backgrounds, where you had specific backgrounds that you could be exploring, but outside of that, it wasn't like an open world, of course. So that made this game limiting. I did not enjoy the mini games. Depending on where you clicked on the games, it didn't register, so it made it a lot more difficult than it should have been because of precision. And they were really repetitive, of course. Like, they were only specific mini games, and I get mini games are very simple things, but it didn't have that exciting factor of fun for me. And I understand that I'm outside of the demographic, but this game is rated E for everyone after all. I enjoyed the story mode better, even though it got to the point that we had so much story to go through, and it was so interesting because some of them were so quick to go run through, and then the others took a lot longer because you had to grind for items. And it was very, very, very heavy grinding throughout this entire game. Like I said, this reminded me of when I'm playing Final Fantasy, but on a much smaller, minimal level, and you're just collecting random items. And the only thing that was definitely a downside was the fact that your inventory belonged to specific fairies. And so if you collected a certain amount of items with one fairy, depending on the time of the game, you could not have those items available if you were with a different fairy. And you couldn't trade the items with a different fairy all the time, because depending on what the task was, you were limited to only working with one fairy or switching between one or two fairies. I love the movie so much. This wasn't the only Fairies game that came out. There was a lot. It was a really cool franchise, and I wish that Disney would do more with it, because it is still technically active, but there's more to explore with the fairies another time. I am so curious if you guys have played any of the fairy games. If you've had, which ones have you played? Let me know below. I always appreciate reading your comments, and as always, I hope you guys have a magical day, and I'll see you real soon.